I stayed up for the whole game.
Yep.
EB stayed up for the whole game. He's complaining.
I'm bitter.
Cakes?
I stayed up for the whole game.
Stayed up for the whole game. The question is, did the Niners fans stay up for the whole game?
You know the answer to that.
I was definitely the Simpsons old man meme shaking his fist at the TV.
Thank God I did not, because the halftime show was 35 minutes, and they played an extra quarter. I don't even know what time the game ended. Did it end
like
at 11?
15, 11, 20. It was ridiculous. For a game that starts like 6:45.
I went to bed at the beginning of Usher because Usher, I don't care one bit about Usher. And I got up this morning at 3 o'clock.
What I learned about Usher is he's a great performer of songs I don't care about.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't care about Usher.
His catalog doesn't really do much
I
for
like
me.
the last song. That was it.
He's an impressive performer. He can dance great, but his songs, they don't move me.
I'm sure he was great. I'm sure most people loved him. But there's no chance I'm going to sit there and watch him for 35 minutes.
It was a waste of time. They did a full halftime recap with James Brown and all those other donks. I like James, but all those other donks.
Yep.
Just forever talking.
All right.
And then go to commercial. And then come back with the world's longest halftime show.
And then go to commercial.
And I could not believe, and I understand it went to overtime. I couldn't believe what time it was when the game ended. And it was like, oh my God, I've been sitting down here for 5 hours. Get me out of here. And now I'm ornery. I'm going to have to cancel lunch with my mother today. I'm sure everybody feels the same way. Not just, everyone. You have to be exhausted. You have 4 hours of sleep. F the whole thing, man.
I went to bed at 8:30.
Impressive. That's solid.
I just don't know how you do that as a fan of the team.
I mean,
he's a marginal fan.
I don't care as much
He's
as I used to.
divorcing himself from the team.
When I have to get up
Kinda
at
like
4
I did with the
o'clock, there's
Raiders.
no chance I'm staying up until 11:15. I mean, that's just stupid.
I stayed up till almost 1.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Z-Long's press conferences. JP
dumb.
can't get enough of them. Once the game was over, once I saw Mecole Hardman catch the ball, the TV was off.
I mean, I'm bumming that
After
they
about
lost the
5
game. I'm not
seconds.
surprised they lost, but I'm bumming that they lost. But thank God I didn't stay up until 11:15 and watch them lose.
What gets you most
that would have been really
irritated about the loss? Because I felt the Niners, Brock Purdy played well enough to win. Now, he didn't play as well as Patrick Mahomes, particularly on the last drive. Mahomes was 8 for 8 with 2 key runs on the game-winning drive.
Mm-hmm.
But during regulation, you guys can win the game if you have decent special teams, really, is what it comes down to.
Well, I mean, in a game of 75 minutes, right? It's hard to pick a couple plays, 2 or 3 plays, but the McCaffrey fumble in the first quarter was huge because you're giving up points.
Yeah, but you had a Pacheco fumble.
That's fine.
When they were about to score, so I almost feel like that was even.
That's fine, but you're still giving up points. The 49ers are still giving up points, JP.
Yes.
So you're giving up points there, and then you fumble the punt. That's
the
just
muffed
bad.
punt was the play of the game because
you gave
that's
them 6
the
points.
only touchdown that the Chiefs scored in regulation.
Yes.
Butker was hitting bombs.
Yes.
All right. He was 4 for 4 on field goals, but the 49ers defense actually held the Chiefs to 1 touchdown in regulation. It was on the short field.
Correct.
Well,
and
also
then,
the extra
and then
point.
the extra point.
I mean, it's
Look,
ridiculous.
Moody was great, kicking 55 and 53.
I
was
thought
really
of you
good.
though. You kind of called it.
Well, I mean, I didn't expect him to make 3 long field goals.
Yeah,
but the extra point, that was
you hit it too low.
3 or 4 point difference is huge.
No,
now who knows? I mean, Kansas City could have scored anyway, but that was big.
No, it was terrible.
So you can look at 2 or 3 or 4 plays in a 75-minute game and go, if those would have been different, it could have been a different outcome.
Oh, yeah, you're so close, too. And you want to get a touchdown in overtime instead of settling for the field goal. On 1st and goal from like the 9, McCaffrey gets some yardage, and then you just get stuffed. He gets stuffed on the second one.
Yep.
They ran into
and then they ran on the third. And you know what? Chris Jones is a great player, and he pressured him, and he had to throw it out of bounds or just didn't connect with Jennings. Look, the Chiefs' defense was great all year. They were the number 2 scoring defense behind the Ravens. We saw what they did to the Ravens in Baltimore in the championship game. It's just tough. Like that 49ers offense had been scoring, 30 points a game, and the Chiefs' defense was
Snead
really,
was
really good.
He was blanketing Debo throughout the game. Like he was
and then Debo gets banged up,
he gets
and
banged
he wasn't
up
the
the
same.
hamstring.
Yep.
Look,
I thought they were going to run the ball a little bit more in the first half than they did. They were passing a lot on first down, and I just didn't understand that. They went to the run a lot more in the second half and in the overtime. So I'm guessing that's what they wanted to do when they got down there to the 9 in the overtime, run McCaffrey a couple times, hopefully get a 3rd and short. But, the second one got stuffed. And then, look, Purdy played well enough to win, okay, but he's not going to make those special plays in big moments that Mahomes is going to make.
Well, he was under duress. I mean, Spagnuolo was unbelievable. And
Sure.
I thought the other thing was the Niners D-line got so much pressure in the first half.
They got tired, too.
They got tired when they adjusted a combo, and Mahomes ran more, and they weren't as effective.
Yeah,
Also,
in the second half.
I thought they were gassed. They must have been gassed.
The question was asked after the game of Andy Reid in the presser wall. What if you had won the coin toss? Would you have taken the ball first or deferred? And he was nice. He was like, Kyle's a really smart coach. He's like, I'm sure he has his reasons, but we would have deferred. And I heard Booger McFarland and I heard a couple other people, and I didn't think about it at the time. And they said the move is to defer because then you know what you have to do.
You get an extra down.
You know what you have to do. And they had a critical 4th down in the course of the regular game. They would have punted, 4th and 1. But instead they call a timeout, and it's a little option play for Mahomes on a naked bootleg. He can either pass to Kelsey if Kelsey's open or run. The linebacker had to make a choice. He stayed with Kelsey. Mahomes gets the critical 1st down.
Well, Shanahan was asked about it, and he said, look, the staff just kind of looks at the numbers. They look at the situation and the analytics, and they said, we'd rather have our offense go out there, score a touchdown, and put all the pressure on the Chiefs. And if they score on that 3rd down, the Chiefs still scored a touchdown, but there's a lot more pressure on them to score. And I also thought they were probably trying to give the defense a little bit of a breather there.
I think there's something to it. Yeah. I didn't really have a huge
Bosa was going 500 miles an hour for the entire game.
Yeah. You can vote.
But he wasn't as effective in the second half.
That's what I'm saying.
He was close. A lot of times he was close.
I think he got winded, and I think a lot of those – I think the secondary got winded too, but Bosa was awesome in the first half. Chase Young made some plays.
I know. He got a sack early.
He made plays in the first half, but
they weren't nearly
They
as
weren't
effective.
the same line as in the second half in the overtime.
If you want to chime in on the MGM National Harbor listener lines, we talk about the Chiefs winning their 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years, back-to-back. They're already talking about three-peat. And, what we learned this year is you can't count them out because at one point this season, the Chiefs had a losing patch where I think they lost 5 in 8 games.
I mean, what's going to happen when
they lost 5 in 8 games?
When their offense improves. Because their offense is going to get better next year. This was a subpar offensive squad that the Chiefs were trotting out throughout the season. And they still win the Super Bowl with that team.
Phone number is 800-636-1067 if you want to call us on the MGM National Harbor listener lines. You can also text the fan on the Thompson Creek Windows text machine. Standard message and data charges may apply. Same number, 1-800-636-1067. You can always tweet us at Junks Radio. Yeah, I mean, they'll probably draft better receivers, right? The story of this season during the regular season was they led the league in drops and didn't have reliable receivers.
Right.
Kadarius Toney, who had a touchdown in the Super Bowl last year, flat out didn't even make him active.
He did what he does. He wears out his welcome wherever he is.
The way I look at it, it doesn't matter who their receivers are. They've got Mahomes.
Right.
And Mahomes is going to make plays. Doesn't matter who he's throwing to.
I mean, the guy accounts for nearly 400 yards of offense yesterday,
so,
passing and rushing wise.
Yes, I'm sure they're going to improve their outside threats, but it doesn't matter. The thought all year was, Bieniemy left, and Tyreek Hill's not there anymore.
How did they win without Bieniemy? I just don't understand that.
Right.
I went to bed last night and I couldn't figure it out.
Without that offensive genius.
It was surprising.
He did give them a pep talk.
I
was going to say, didn't EB come back?
He did,
That must have been it.
Yeah,
Gave him
Coach
a pep
Bieniemy
talk.
came back.
But when you have one of the great quarterbacks, give Shanahan Mahomes. So, I mean, when you have that guy, he's going to win a lot of games for you in big moments. And
they were so close. So your Niners were so close. They just needed to make, like you said, 1 or 2 more plays. Jonathan Allen always comes on the show and says the difference in the NFL is 1 or 2 more plays. Now, I wouldn't say the difference between the Commanders and the Chiefs and Niners is 1 or 2 more plays, but they just didn't convert in the red zone. And the week before, or 2 weeks ago, when the Niners had to come back, actually both games against the Packers and the Lions, they converted in the red zone.
Yeah.
And here they would move the ball, get close, and then for some reason they would stall out.
It's a
and settle for a field
hypothetical,
goal.
but if they kick the extra point, they win the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Much better defense they're going against, too.
If they kick that extra point, if it doesn't get blocked, they're Super Bowl champs. I truly believe that.
It's a good chance of that, yep.
The way that game was going.
Yeah. But again, you fumble a punt, and then on the next play, they're scoring, and you're giving them 7 points.
Oh, that added insult to injury made it so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, this just comes down to a couple mistakes. And you just can't do that in a big game like that.
Yeah.
And they were handling Mahomes and Kelsey in the first half.
I also think, and we talk about it later, I also think Romo was great. I thought everyone criticizes him. I thought he was awesome. He was making great, explanations of especially when he called that timeout. He didn't like Wilkes' zero defense or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought he was on point.
Yeah, I thought he was very good.
And some of the pre-snap stuff he was doing, I thought was amazing.
Yeah, he was good.
I really liked him last night. And I know people hate him.
A lot of people hate him now.
I don't give a crap.
They say overtalk the last play. I don't know.
Whatever. He was awesome for me.
The party that I was
learned a lot
at
watching that game.
The party that I was at has 40 or 50 people and a lot of kids. Because what are you going to do if you've got kids, right? And a lot of times the kids were in the basement or they had a playroom for some of the younger kids, but it was just loud. And my buddy Eric, he cranked his sound bar and his TV up to 100. And it was sometimes I didn't notice Romo as much and definitely didn't notice any of the commercials or anything because it was just loud.
No chance those kids stayed till the end of the game.
No.
Yeah, they were gone. But
They
at
got cleared
halftime,
out.
most of the people at the party left at the end of the third quarter because now it's already 9:45 and it's school night.
Right.
Kids got to go to school.
Got to go to school.
It was just out of 40 people or 50 people, how many people were there? Only two people stayed to watch the whole game because it was me and another guy who just didn't want to miss a play. I could have left because I knew there was going to be a coin toss and that would take 5 minutes. And I knew, once the game was tied with 3 seconds left and the Chiefs settled for the field goal.
Right.
I knew that was going to be
another half hour.
And there's going to be a kickoff. But I thought there was still, I didn't know if I had enough time to get home. I didn't want to miss a play. At that point, I'm like, what's the difference in 15 minutes?
Can we just swap President's Day for today and make this, going forward, the national holiday? I know we won't get it off because we have to come in and talk about the Super Bowl, but for the greater good of the people that are staying up until near midnight to watch the end of the game.
I don't know.
That should be the move.
It sucks in some ways, but I just thought it was an awesome game. I saw Cake's tweet that he wasn't enjoying the game because there wasn't much scoring, but it was close. Anytime a game is close, there's tension.
I need scoring. I need offense. Sorry. Call me crazy. I like when teams
you just
score.
knew, at least I did. I agree with both of you. I was still interested in it because it was close.
It was a snoozer.
But it was kind of a dud in the sense that they weren't, scoring. But you just knew it was going to go down to the end. The way it was playing out, I knew it was going to be exciting.
It wasn't going to be a blowout,
So
I don't like bad football, watching guys fumble when they're about to score. It doesn't do much for me.
And there were 5 punts in the first half, and there was a bunch of penalties. Trent Williams had a couple bad penalties.
Yeah, back-to-back penalties.
Yeah, I mean, the first half was kind of rough, but it was close. Second half and overtime were good. They were fun.
Phone number
6:30
800.
Way too late of a kickoff.
You know what? If they're going to do all that nonsense, start it at 4.
Yeah,
if you're going to do all that dumbass,
they never will.
Start it at 4.
800-636-1067 is the number. I see a couple people want to chime in. We'll come back, take your calls. Do you think Kyle Shanahan made a strategic mistake taking the ball first in overtime and not deferring? And give us your thoughts on Mahomes now with 3 rings. When you actually put him side by side and at age next to Brady, it's hard to project it out, but he's ahead of Brady. And he's been more impressive in the playoffs if you just go side by side. I'll get into some of those numbers next here on the Junkies. Patrick Mahomes arriving.
I think that's the huge part of it.
He hit the lotto. He's obviously a great coach, so he gets a lot of credit. But they hit the lotto with one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play.
He was what was considered a very good coach with the Eagles for years. Would take the Eagles to the NFC Championship fairly regularly. Won Super Bowl appearance, just never got over the hump. In Kansas City, turned them into a winner even with Alex Smith at quarterback, but Mahomes
I had to slap my knee, by the way.
has led him to 3 Super Bowls in 5 years.
Did you see the shrapnel that Troy Aikman is taking?
Yes.
What did he do? What did Aikman do?
Well, this dates back to 2019 where he bristled at the Athletic Kansas City when they tweeted that Patrick Mahomes is throwing 36% of Troy Aikman's career touchdowns in about 8% of the games. And his response, now this is back in 2019, was, talk to me when he has 33% of my Super Bowl titles. Well, now he has 100% of your Super Bowl titles.
And he's only 28.
Which made me chuckle. I just thought that was funny.
Here's the thing about Mahomes. He's undeniably great, wins another Super Bowl MVP, and who knows what happens, because I do think he's got a great partnership with Andy Reid. Andy Reid's not retiring, but eventually Kelsey will retire, Reid will move on, and you just don't know what's going to happen. But right now, I'm just going to give you side-by-side stats of Mahomes versus Brady, and this is before turning 30. Mahomes is actually 28. He's still got a couple more years. In terms of playoff wins, Mahomes has thrown for 5,135 yards before the age of 30. Brady had only thrown for 3,200. Mahomes has thrown 41 touchdowns with 8 interceptions in the playoffs. Brady was 20-9. I mean, it's doubled them in touchdowns. And then, you know, where they're the same is both of them are 3-time Super Bowl champs before the age of 30. And Mahomes 3-time Super Bowl MVP. Brady had done it twice at that point. Now, Brady could be a Hall of Famer just from the back end of his career. Like the back end of his career, you don't know what's going to happen with Mahomes. But the front end of his career is arguably better than Brady.
Well, and also remember that big gap. There was a big gap with Brady.
I think anybody that looks at it can tell Mahomes is better than Brady. I don't care what anybody says. Now, it's just like Tiger. Tiger was better than Jack. He wasn't able to get to the 18, 19 majors or whatever. It doesn't matter. He's better than him.
Yeah.
Mahomes is better than Brady. Now, if he stays healthy and he has good players around him, he'll come close to the 7 or 6 Super Bowls, however many he has. It's going to be hard to top, but he's better than him.
And it might be a case in the AFC where they're really good quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson's won 2 MVPs. Josh Allen's as good as anybody except for maybe Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow's excellent when he's healthy. It might be the whole Michael Jordan situation where they're all Stockton, Malone, Barkley. You're just in the Patrick Mahomes era.
Those guys can be sitting in their retirement homes when they're 80, just shaking their fist at Patrick Mahomes because he denied them Super Bowls.
So until you start beating him in the postseason, they're all very good / great players, but he beat Mahomes.
But in this game, I went back and I just looked at it. I felt like the Niners, I thought they had that game. Like they could have won, could easily won that game. And I went back and looked at a couple of possessions. They just didn't convert the third downs when they needed to. So they were 3 for 12 on third downs. Yeah. Obviously, settling for the field goal in overtime, it comes down to 3rd and 4, where they're in striking distance. They're like at the 10. I remember when they got the first down. Remember they had the penalty, which was horrible. But then Purdy overcame that, made a really good play. And they get a first down after the penalty. And somebody at the party said, it's over. Like the Niners were going to score there.
No. Well, Spagnuolo was really coming after Purdy. And Purdy, he holds the ball. In my opinion, he holds the ball a little bit too long. Mahomes gets rid of the ball. But Purdy had some opportunities. But, he's a smaller quarterback. It's tougher for him to see over lines. Had a couple balls batted down. He's just not Mahomes. He's not going to make those fantastic superstar type plays in a big moment. They had opportunities, but Spagnuolo's defense has something to do with it because they got after Purdy.
No, their defense is excellent.
And they rushed him on a few throws, and I thought that was one of the major differences in the game.
Well, that 3rd and 4, just under the 2-minute warning. I mean, if they convert that, the game's over.
Yep.
They're going to go right down there and kick the Mahomes never back on the field.
Yep, that's true.
So that was a huge play, and I think that Spags blitzed on that play.
Yep, and he forced him out of the pocket.
Well, and that's again where Romo was great. He called every blitz. He called every blitz. He said Spags is going to go down swinging.
Their defense was excellent though too. Their corners made plays, just deflecting passes. Like the one in the end zone to Debo. I can't remember which corner that was. Just got his arm up. There was another one to Ayuk on the sideline. There was another one to Ayuk on the sideline where when Purdy threw it, I was like, what is he doing? But it actually was right at the guy, and the guy just gets his left arm and deflects it.
Purdy also had Debo wide open in the end zone, overthrew him.
Yeah.
You got to make
But he got pressured on that play.
Yeah,
he had somebody. He had, you know.
That's what I'm saying. You got to just got to make those plays. I mean, you're going to get pressured. Guys are going to be coming after you. So that was just an opportunity. When you talk about opportunities, that was one right there.
All right, let's go to the phones. 800-636-1067, your reaction. And I've kind of bought into what some of the people were saying afterwards, that they should have deferred and taken the ball second.
Oh, they should have made their extra point, and then they'd be
Well,
Super Bowl
that's
champs.
regulation, but I'm saying in overtime, Kyle Shanahan may have botched it.
I think
he was playing for the third possession. Like the rationale was, if we score a touchdown and they score a touchdown, if we then just get a field goal, we win the game.
Yep.
So maybe the analytics say that, but I don't know. I listened to Andy Reid after the game, and Andy Reid was like, well, we would have deferred.
I mean, if the Niners score a touchdown there instead of kicking a field goal, it just puts a lot of pressure on Mahomes and the Chiefs. So,
but then they can also then go for two to win it. Like you're letting them have a chance.
But you still got to. I still believe they was trying to give the defense a little bit of a breather because I could tell they were wearing down quick. I think that had something to do with it, even though I don't think Shanahan talked about that. I don't think he's used that as an excuse at the end of the game. But you know what? You had an opportunity to score a touchdown. You didn't.
I don't know. To me, my breather would be the coin toss, the whole stuff. Like there was 10 minutes in between.
Well, there's no denying the second half. I don't think their defensive line was nearly as effective. Bosa was close.
Yeah.
Chase Young was a non-factor in the second half. He was great in the first half.
Well, they also lost one of their best defensive players to a torn Achilles.
Well, that was a crazy play.
The one where he ran on the field.
To go out on the field.
That's another
that was terrible.
I felt terrible for him.
It was another huge play right there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just horrible luck.
Oh.
I mean, that's one of your best two defensive players.
All right, let's go to Don in D.C. Don, what's up? I think everybody that watched the games is in bed.
That's probably true.
Thank God for that they can do that. Don, what's up?
Hey, how y'all doing this morning?
What's up, Don?
All right. I mean, everything that y'all saying is true, man. I'm a 49ers fan, first of all, but I also love football. I'm not a hater. Man, 49ers, man, we made quite a few mistakes, and for us not to go down the field and accomplish nothing, not even a field goal, it's kind of disrespectful towards a team like Kansas City. You can't go down the field and expect not to put up some type of points against Kansas City. I believe it was basically at least 9 unanswered points that we could have had for the 49ers. Metcalf fumbled. Metcalf, he's a heck of a running back, don't get me wrong, but he could be better. To me, Metcalf run in the air too high. He don't protect himself properly.
Talking about McCaffrey?
Who's Metcalf?
I'm sorry.
McCaffrey.
I got a lot of traps. Yeah, McCaffrey.
It's early. We get it.
I think they wore his ass out, too.
Yes, sir. McCaffrey. Yeah, but he also struggled with that all year. He runs too high to be a top running back as he is.
Oh, I think his form is okay. I think it's.
He led the league in rushing.
Well.
Yeah, he led the league in rushing because his legs are strong. But as far as actually protecting himself properly, he runs too high. Second of all,
what are you talking about here?
Sorry,
guy
buddy.
leads the league in rushing. He's like the offensive MVP of the league.
Does he have a fumbling problem? I'm not aware of it.
He had 3 lost fumbles all year.
Yeah.
When he fumbled in that first quarter, I told my wife and daughter, I said, that guy never fumbles.
Yeah.
He never fumbles.
It's a bad omen for the game.
Yeah, so that's going to be bad luck right there. And
yeah, but they were right there. Trav brings up a good point. I remember saying it at the party, and there was only a few people there left. I was like, if they get a first down here, the game's over.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, the Chiefs have 2 timeouts left. And I was just kind of doing the math. I was like, well, maybe Mahomes get the ball back with like 30 seconds. But it was like, let's get a first down. And I can't remember what they did on second down. On first down, they ran for 5 yards, and it was like 2nd and 5. And it might have been 2 straight incompletions in regulation. I'm not talking about overtime.
Which possession are you talking about?
The one where they went ahead 19-16.
Okay, all right, yeah. So which are you talking about? The last play of that drive?
Yeah. Well, that one was an incompletion to Jennings, I believe.
That was an incompletion to Jennings.
What'd they do on 2nd and 5?
2nd and 5.
There's always Kittle, right?
They threw the ball to Kittle for no gain.
Yeah.
And then 3rd and 5.
But point
they threw to Jennings.
If you just It's that close. Like, yes, Mahomes is great, undeniably great, and the narrative is, it was Super Bowl. But if and he's better than Purdy, I agree, he's better than Purdy. But if Purdy makes that one play to Jennings or Kittle breaks one tackle, they win the game. Doesn't go to overtime.
It comes down to a few plays. I mean, it comes down to 5 or 6 plays in a game like that. Right?
Yeah, I was rooting for the Niners. I think we chop, right?
I'll take a chop.
Oh, that's right.
Chop is better than a loss.
From the season-long predictions.
All right, so
it was $150 a man, from what I remember.
So you each win $50. $50. You net $50. All right.
Okay, I mean,
I'll pay you during the break.
I'll take $50. I'll take $50.
All right, let's go to Rick in D.C. 800-636-1067. If you stayed up and watched that debacle last night.
I sure did. It was a great game. But the only thing I can say is that the Shanahan guy,
Kyle,
the York family can't be happy with this. I mean, the guy has great seasons, but he just can't win the big one.
He does love the gag leads in the Super Bowl. It's no denying that.
He's had 3 10-point leads.
Yeah. I thought he was fine.
He's also going against Mahomes in 2 of them and Brady in another one.
I thought he was fine. I thought he was poised.
I mean, that 4th and 1 call was ballsy.
Yeah.
Well. Also on that Jennings touchdown, that when he threw the ball back across the field to McCaffrey,
it was dicey.
They said at halftime that should have been called back.
Yeah, there was like an ineligible man downfield, like on the offensive line.
They didn't catch that.
Okay, well they didn't.
Yeah, sometimes you miss calls.
They didn't catch it.
There's so many missed calls. Like Bosa said this before the game, that he was asked about the Chiefs' offensive line. He's like, "Well, they hold all the time."
Right.
And you could see holdings. You could see so many holdings that just weren't called.
Yeah, there were holds on both sides.
Completion, maybe I can't remember who it was, but I looked like Bosa was clearly being held. It might have been Kelsey over the middle.
I think it was, yeah.
I mean, Bosa's just getting basically tackled by the left tackle.
So
just let it go.
It's hard to navigate the non-calls. There are a ton of non-calls. I thought there was a pass to Debo at the beginning of the overtime, which almost looked like an interception. You're like, oh, my God, he just threw an interception there. Mm-hmm. Well, the defender had both arms around Debo Samuel.
Yeah, they could have easily called it.
Literally both.
Pass interference right there.
Like a lot of times, one arm will hook. He had both.
Yeah.
And it was a no call.
You could call a hold pretty much on every play.
All right, let's go to Eddie in Culpeper. Eddie, what's up? Eddie, come on, man.
Is that me?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
If your name's Eddie, it's you.
So listen, I liked the game, didn't love it. I was going for the Niners, I was going for Trent, I was going for Chase, I was going for Kyle because they were here. But Purdy surprised me. He did a lot better than I thought he was going to do. He actually competed a lot better than I thought he was going to do. He missed a couple of throws, but he threw a lot of good ones.
I thought he was solid.
Very impressed.
I thought he was
solid. I was very impressed by him, and I really, really don't understand the last drive. The defense by the Niners just gave up. They gave up those 3 points to go to overtime. Kelsey was wide open like twice, ran for like 20 yards. It was just a bad defensive breakdown by the Niners. So I don't understand the logic of trying to give the Mahomes the ball again because the Niners defense was just gassed that last drive. So, I
don't know what they could do better. Kelsey's the best in the business. Mahomes the best in the business.
Fred Warner had man coverage and just kind of got caught behind him, and Kelsey was wide open across the middle. That was a huge play.
In 1/100th of a second.
That Kelsey, after being shut out in the first half, was going to be a massive presence in the second.
And he was.
You knew that was going to be the adjustment for the Chiefs.